So, this happened while I was on my break at work. I stopped at a Toys R Us to use the bathroom, and I was like, let me walk around. So I found this. This is the Enforcer Predator from Predator Bad Blood. It was an old Dark Horse Predator comic. I'm taking this shit back. I opened it immediately, and that piece fell off. It's supposed to look like that. It just fell off. It was still sitting in the tape, and that broke off. Watch this. the ball joint wasn't, or the hole in the foot wasn't drilled deep enough so that it actually stays on. Then, look at this. Super easily. For some reason, none of these ball joints, these holes for the ball joints, are drilled deep enough. It sucks. Then the glaive, I can't get the glaive to stay on his hand. This figure's a mess. And I've seen a couple reviews already. There's not many online because I guess they dropped probably today or this week. I'm just not, you know what I mean? Get your ass to Maz. Don't get that toy. Stay away from that shit. Neca, what the fuck? What the fuck, Neca? What's up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I am back with a figure review. No, it's not a Neca figure. It's a Marvel Select figure. I figured since it happened in front of this figure, I will just move on and do this because this makes me happy. Marvel Select is a company that always knocks it out of the park, always makes me happy, and I haven't had many issues with them at all. This is the Rhino figure, and it's fitting because of the release of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 earlier this year. I had been looking for this figure, or looking at this figure for a while. I've passed it up a couple times, and then about 2 months ago I bought this figure. So, you know, sorry I'm only getting around to the review right now. But as you can see, it's masterfully done. Nothing less from Marvel Select. So, straight off the bat, you can see that he towers over Spider-Man, which is the way it should be. He's got very similar articulation to the Marvel Select Colossus and the Marvel Select Sabretooth. He's got, you know, decent posability, but for a guy his size, he really doesn't need as much posability as they gave him, and what they gave him actually works. So it kind of goes to show you that you can do a lot with a figure that shouldn't really have that much articulation, who doesn't really jump around that much, you know what I'm saying? He really does one thing. So the first thing I noticed when I opened it, and I hope it comes through in these images, is that he had this kind of film on him. It almost looked like if you grind concrete or stone or something, you get this dust over top of your whatever it is you're working on. So, except this was a little bit greasy and it stuck to the figure. And it kind of sparkled and shimmered. It made him look like concrete is what I'm trying to get at. And I don't know if this was intentional, but he already was sculpted with the texture of concrete. But this was just an added detail that I noticed, and I was just like, wow, okay. I've never seen this before. But dude's face sculpt, everything looks like classic Rhino, you know, and it's pretty cool because in the past we got several different versions of Rhino. Some of them were actually pretty cool, but like it seemed like when the design got cooler, the articulation was more lacking. But all in all, you know, like I said, there have been so many versions that they seem to not necessarily, I don't know, it's like the spirit of the character was in the design, but it didn't feel as substantial and as, you know, just the presence wasn't there like this one is. This figure is heavy, just as heavy as you know, your Colossus, and pretty comparable to your Juggernaut. I mean, he's not the same size, but he's hefty, you know what I'm saying? And he's solid. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you did Vangelis's his little throw test where he throws the toy against the freaking chain-based wall, it would probably break the wall. He's heavy, you know, heavy, very heavy. He feels like a genuine threat to your other action figures. There's not a whole lot of slop anywhere, if any. The only thing I noticed was, if you saw in that previous picture, like in the recesses of the wrinkles around his eyes, that film that I'm talking about, it kind of built up in between there. I'm going to use a toothbrush and get it out at some point. I haven't got around to it yet. But besides that, everything is just perfect. I mean, everything is well separated, and since the majority of his body is this concrete armored, you know, design with the cracks and wrinkles and all that shit, there's nothing to complain about. I mean, he's kind of segmented when you think about it. There's the horn, there's the costume, and then there's his face. And it's all well done. It's all well done, well painted. The paints aren't bleeding into one another. It's, like I said, the usual better than Marvel Legends quality for not Marvel Legends price. Lower than the Marvel Legends price. And still these figures remain cheap. Even on the secondary market, there's a handful of them that are really expensive, but I can go to my comic book store and I can usually find any of these figures. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain ones that are really old, like the Watcher. You can't find them right now, but everyone else I can find. So it kind of tells you something for those of you who are, like I've said before, smart, intelligent collectors, and you're not just jumping on the bandwagon because some shit is what's out right now. This figure is well done, is well painted. He is awesomely scaled to your Spider-Man and other Marvel characters. Actually, he's properly scaled to the Marvel Universe in general. I don't mean Marvel Universe the collection, I just mean your 6-7 inch, you know, Marvel Universe in action figure form. He's just, it's perfect. For me, it's the perfect Rhino. I don't need my Rhino to be able to do splits and backflips and shit like that. I don't need him to be, you know, folding his arms and all that kind of stuff. He's wearing a shitload of armor, and it feels like it, you know, even though the armor is patterned after, you know, a mixture between, you know, a rhino's hide and a human, you know, human's muscularity or muscularity, I said, wow. Musculature. It just looks really, really, really fucking good. It's a really well done version of the character. I mean, there's nothing much more to say. And I'm going off and I'm letting people know how good I feel these figures are, because Marvel Select is treated like the bastard child of Marvel Legends. And in reality, you should be paying more for Marvel Selects. Look at them. Every time a Marvel Select figure comes out of a Marvel Legends figure, the Marvel Select one wins hands down. Almost every time. Their female figures always looked better. I mean, they had their problems, but they always looked better than the Marvel Legends ones. They're, you know, scale-wise, I understand why some people want the Spider-Man figures from Marvel Legends versus the, you know, the Marvel Select ones, because they're always a little bit bigger. But they usually do just about the same stuff, and the Marvel Select sculpt is better, and so is the paint, you know? Their Amazing Spider-Man figure had better paint, you know? So it's the same here with the Rhino. He's just masterfully done in comparison to what you would have gotten from the Marvel Legends, and they weren't that far off either. His articulation's real simple. He can move his arms out this far. There is also a bend and a swivel at the elbow. Actually, you know what? I think yeah, there is a bend and a swivel at the elbow. I don't know why, just a second I thought there wasn't. His arms can move up this far once you close them in. The elbow joint, it kind of bends at about 90 degrees. And all of the joints are huge. I mean, the pegs are huge. The discs are huge. So none of this stuff is going to be falling apart anytime soon. If he takes a tumble off your shelf, he's probably going to survive. You may want to look at the floor because the floor might have a dent. Just like with the Juggernaut figure, it's the same thing. These are substantial figures here. But, I mean, look at where that disc is going. It's a huge, huge disc going in there. You can see the elbow joint, like I said, just about 90 degrees. There is no bicep swivel, even though there's plenty of room for it. I so badly wish that they would consider doing the bicep swivels, because I hate when they swivel at the elbow because that's twice as much stress on that one area. Swivel at the wrist, like I said, there's no hinge, but there's no need for a hinge because he doesn't do anything that you would need hinges with, especially since his hands are not open. You know, he's not one of those characters that is always stopping to catch big things. He's actually always running through shit, you know. The neck moves up about this much, which is pretty cool. His neck is actually it's the reverse of what we're used to. Normally you have the head separate, and then in the neck, which is part of the base of the shoulders and all that, you have a peg sticking out. Well, in this one, the head and the neck is one sculpted thing, and it's sitting on a ball peg in the recess of the neck, you know, next in between the shoulders and whatnot, and traps or whatever, which is pretty cool. I like the fact that they did that because, like I said, it's supposed to be a shitload of armor. It works better that way, so you can look down that far. He has a diaphragm joint. This is as far forward as you can bend it. It doesn't really go much further. If it could go further, I didn't force it, but I figured, you know, he's a heavy figure. It didn't feel like he could go any further. So, yeah, that's as far forward as he goes. This is as far back as he goes. So he's not an agile person, and he's a Rhino, so he shouldn't be very agile. And this is what I'm talking about when I tell you that the articulation, as well as the sculpt and everything, plays into the character. There's limitations that the character should have, and they're present here. He's got wide jointed hips, like I said before, but they're perfect for running poses when you couple them with his diaphragm joint, because you can twist the waist with the diaphragm. So I'm not complaining about that. It is an area you could complain about, but I'm not going to do it. His legs swivel and a bend at the knee. I don't like when they do the swivel and the bend in the same spot. That bothers me. The only time it's okay is sometimes on the foot and ankle. I don't mind it so much there, but you know, whatever. He's got a hinge and a ankle pivot, which is pretty dope. Big characters need these because when they have big feet with these huge joints, huge pegs, huge swivels, whatever, they need to be able to support their weight. And if they have the, you know, rocker / pivot, it allows for a more secure stance when they stand, you know, kind of wide-legged. And I love that. He has it. I think Juggernaut has it. Sabretooth doesn't have it. What's the other big guy? Colossus. Colossus has it. So, yeah, real good articulation. Now, if you noticed, I jumped straight to the overall because I don't have any issues with this figure. None. You know, some could say this is a perfect figure because he does the basic things that are... He does the exact things, not basic, the exact things that this figure needs to do. I need to be able to position this guy running as if he's going to ram through something, as a Rhino does. As you can see, he is balanced on his own weight. This is just his weight. I'm not using a stand. I'm not hiding a stand. I just had him standing up on one foot with an ankle pivot. You know, sometimes the ankle pivots, like on Marvel Legends, they get all wonky and they swivel too much. Or like with the DC collectibles, Arkham Origins Batman, you have to finagle his ankle in order to get the pivot to work. Not here. Here he just pivots. It just works. And he holds the pose. So... as long as he can do this, I'm good because guess what? That's 95% of what Rhino will do in any comic that you see him in, unless it's the mech version from Amazing Spider-Man 2. And I just need him to run into stuff and miss, because that's what Spider-Man always does to him, is make him miss and make him fuck himself up. And I need to be able to take pictures like this of him. And I am. And I have. So I'm over the moon with this guy. There's no complaints with this figure. Marvel Select, once again, did a perfect job giving me a character that, you know, I didn't have in my collection in a quality format, so that I don't have to worry about him falling and dying, you know what I'm saying? If he takes a spill, I got to worry about the other figures around him. And since many of them are Marvel Selects, I really don't have to worry that much, because they make quality figures out of quality materials with quality paint jobs, quality articulation, and it just really quality packaging too. It's real simple and straightforward, easy to get them out. I mean, they fucking twist tie the hell out of their figures, but you know, it all adds to the anticipation of you opening that figure up and playing with him and being happy that you got him. So this figure is a win. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. This has been my review of the Marvel Select Rhino, featuring my little what the fuck moment for my NECA Enforcer Predator. You guys have been great. Peace outside. Buy this figure. Peace outside.